1. This happened to me about 2 years ago. It was early January and I had just turned 16. I was 5'2" at the time and had a boyfriend. I had done what most people do around the new year, make a resolution to lose a few pounds. I had been running around my whole neighborhood for about 2 weeks straight. And when I went out, I always carried a wooden cane because of stray dogs. I ran by one particular house and noticed a man get out of his car and stop to look at me while ushering some kids inside. I didn't think anything of it. But a few days later, I was running by the same house. The same man stepped out. He was a black man who seemed to be in his 40s. He was thin and tall, but had long dreads. "Hey, shorty, what are you up to?" I explained to him I was just enjoying a run, and then he said, "Yeah, I've been watching you for the past week or so. You look good when you run." I awkwardly said, "Thank you," feeling increasingly uncomfortable. He then said he wanted to give me his number and ran back in his house for a paper and pencil. I thought about running away, but I was too nervous about him coming back and seeing me leaving. He gave me the number and it had his name on there too. Nick. I thanked him and tried to quickly get away. I hadn't walked too far when he caught up to me and started making small talk. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept walking. Talking about how rainy it had been quickly turned into something else, though. When he asked me if I had a boyfriend, I told him yes. I had been dating the same guy for 3 years. Nick asked me, "Well, where is he?" I gripped my cane and told him my boyfriend was in college. He laughed and said, "Well then, he probably doesn't have time to treat you right." "I could treat you real good. I could get you a job near where I work, and I could keep you close." I told him no thank you. I really loved my boyfriend. Nick started walking backwards in front of me. "But does he keep you warm at night? Come on, shorty. You could walk over to my place every night. Your boyfriend don't gotta know." I awkwardly said no again, and he sighed and started talking about how shitty his ex was. According to him, she took his kid away and all his money, and would try to hurt him. He then said, "But you wouldn't do none of that to me, though, would you, little mama?" I told him I was sorry it happened to him. He got worse, though, and said, "Come on, your boyfriend doesn't care nothing about you and your perfect little body. Come over to my bed at night. I'll suck on your toes for you. Lick in between them. Bet he don't do none of that for you." Nick had been following me for about an hour at this point, and I was starting to get really worried this man was going to do something to me. I kept walking with this guy following me, telling me how perfect my breasts are and my ass, how he'd like to squeeze them. He eventually asked me if I'd ever taken a black dick before, and that he could give it to me. I told him again to stop, and that I have a boyfriend. We walked by his house and he decided to go back in, telling me to think about coming by that night and to give him a call. I waited until his front door was shut, and then I ran as fast as I could. I tried to get a man who was delivering a pizza to take me back to my house because someone was following me, but he told me he couldn't because he had to stay on his route. I begged him to just take me back since it was literally only about a 45-second drive to my house. He wouldn't, and left. I heard a car speed off from back where Nick lived, and I ran even faster. When I finally got home, my mom was waiting in the doorway. I was out for almost 2 hours longer than normal. I finally got to her and started crying, and I told her everything. She called the police, and I told them what happened, and gave them the number Nick had given me. Turns out that wasn't his real name. His actual name was Joshua, and he already had 2 assault charges against him, both from his ex he was telling me about. Turns out he has been stalking her for over a year, and she had to move to a different state because of it, taking their son with her. The police called him and asked him why he was talking like this to a minor. He said I told him I was 20, which I didn't. I told him several times I was only 16. He also told the police I started talking about sex and that I was agreeing to all the things he said. By the time the police were able to track him down, he had already left the city. I haven't seen him since. And I haven't gone out running since either. He knows he did wrong. The police were at my house and on the phone with him less than 30 minutes after I had first gotten him. And in that time, he was already out of the city. I don't know whatever happened. The police say they were going to call me the next day, but they didn't. All I know is that in the future, I will never run alone again. The following 3 stories are all paranormal related and are shared by the same subscriber. 2. I've always been fascinated with the paranormal and believed in ghosts and the unexplained. What happened that night is eating me inside, and I need to tell the world the truth. This story happened to me 2 years ago when my best friend, roommate, Sky and I were 18 years old. We were driving home from a movie on the I-15 freeway in Provo, Utah. It was dark and it had just started to rain hard. We realized that there was not a car in sight, which was really odd, because this time at night there would be a lot of cars on the freeway. All of a sudden we saw far up ahead a man walking, hitchhiking. Sky told me to pull over for this man we could barely see, with the rain coming down hard. He looked like he was homeless. He had a limp, covered in rags, back hunched over. As we got closer, we both started to get this bad vibe, and my stomach started twisting inside, feeling scared and anxious about picking this stranger up. So I told Sky that my gut was telling me not to stop, and Sky felt the same way. When we were about to drive past him, I sped up faster. As soon as we passed, we immediately both looked in the rearview mirror to see how he'd react. But he wasn't there anymore. Not a single sign of him. We were scared and confused, but as soon as we looked at the road, we saw this long, evil, slim, pale face with black eyes and a big, creepy grin on its face come from in front of the car super fast, straight through the windshield towards us. Pops his face in the car right under the rearview mirror, looked at us both and says, "I heard you've been looking for me." And not even a minute later, the face fades, disappearing into thin air. All of a sudden, Sky starts sobbing hysterically loud and hard. I ask her, "What the hell was that? Why are you crying?" Sky cries out, I'm so sorry. Earlier this week, I've been questioning the existence of the devil, so I started praying out to him to reveal himself to me because I didn't believe he was real. I'm so sorry." As soon as she said she was sorry, we crashed into a tree, and Sky died on impact. Unfortunately, she didn't have her seatbelt on, and I did, so I survived, with a broken collarbone and a few minor cuts and bruises. Sky's death was ruled accidental, even though it was far from accidental. I haven't talked about this since the police investigation, and even then, I couldn't tell the detective the truth because he would have either thought I was lying and think I'm making this up to cover up the truth and arrest me, put me in the psych ward, assume I was using drugs, or even worse, all of the above. I tried so hard to forget that night. I don't care if you don't believe me. I know in my heart the truth and what happened. I know what I saw with my own eyes as clear as if it was just yesterday. It feels good to finally let it out, like a big weight is lifted from me. I will never forget the worst night when I lost my best friend and when we saw the devil. It will always haunt me. 3. Okay, just a little background information. I am 21 years old, and all my life I have been fascinated by the paranormal and the unexplained mysteries of our universe. The adrenaline rush when I hear a scary story, or the excitement of fear when I see shadows in the dark or watch a scary-ass movie. I absolutely love it. It scares the hell out of me, but I can't explain the high of it all. Every house we've been in, scary, unexplained shit happened to us. Somewhere in Utah County, for the sake of anonymity. During the 1800s, there used to be a cemetery right under where this school campus was built. So before they built a school campus and houses over the cemetery, they dug up the bodies and transported them to another cemetery. But back in the day, not everyone had a tombstone, so not all the bodies were moved to the other town. So we lived right above fucking dead bodies. The first 3 years living there was perfect. It wasn't until last year something dark and evil consumed our home. In that house, when I was 15, it all started. One time when my best friend Sky was sleeping on her stomach, with her arms folded underneath her forehead. We were poor and couldn't afford bed frames. Shit, we couldn't afford real beds. Picture a sponge the size of a twin mattress on the tiled floor. That's what we slept on. So my 16-year-old sister at the time was in as Sky is sleeping. My sister sits on our dresser and starts whistling Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. The whole time she's whistling, in my opinion a creepy-ass kid's song, my sister is looking down at her, starts getting this bad feeling, and comes over her. As soon as my sister stops whistling, Sky jumps up and sits up quickly, crying her eyes out, yelling at my sister in her British accent. "What the fuck? Why didn't you help me?" My sister was confused. "What the hell are you talking about?" Sky crying so hard, stumbling over her words. "You didn't see?" My sister was puzzled and asked, "See what?" Sky, terrified, explained. "When I was asleep, I heard you coming in, and when you started whistling, I heard footsteps walking towards me. As I lifted my head up a little to see who it was, I saw a tall lady, all white, wearing a long white dress with long black hair, running down her chest to the floor, walking slowly towards me with an evil face. As soon as she gets right in front of me, she grabs my neck, lifting me up just enough for my head to be raised up with my body still on the bed. I was trying to stop her, but I was paralyzed as I was grasping for air, almost about to pass out. I was trying to scream for your help, but then she finally let go, disappeared, and I got up. After telling my sister, they ran and got the hell out of the room, booked it through the hallway to the living room where I was watching TV. They were terrified as they were telling me what happened. My sister excited because she's a huge paranormal fan too, but scared as hell. And Sky, whose face was flushed, crying and shaking with fear. While my sister was telling me what happened, Sky starts complaining that her neck hurts. So we lifted up her long curly black hair, covering her neck, and to our surprise there was a big black handprint on her neck. Too big to match any of ours. Weeks go by, and this house is starting to get even worse. In the day or night, you sit in the living room, you can see down through the hallway, black shadows running from room to room across from each other. One night, me and my sister fell asleep watching movies in the living room, and we wake up hearing one of our glass Coke bottles. The kind of bottles impossible to open by hand. You need a bottle opener to pry them open. Cracked open by themselves. Not even a second later, another one pries open, then another. As the bottle caps fall on the floor, clink, clink, clink. We both run in the kitchen, no one is there, and the 3 Coke bottles opened, pouring out onto the counter. It was getting so bad that all of us, my mom, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters, and I couldn't sleep at night. Almost every night we would see doorknobs turning slowly from doors that would be locked and only able to be opened from the inside of the room. Opening, with nothing there. Coming home to water turned up all the way, running from every sink in the house. Or all the lights in the house on. Or waking up to eerie whistling or chanting at 3 in the morning every night. One night my mother was sleeping on her bed. She's the only one with a normal bed and bed frame. I am sitting on the floor, leaning my back against her bed. She's sleeping on her side facing the TV. I'm watching Beauty Shop, and all of a sudden, I get a feeling of dread and fear. I turn to look at my mom, and she's okay, sleeping peacefully, so I hesitantly brush the feeling away. Not even a minute later, that feeling comes back, even stronger. I quickly turn to look at my mom, and she's sleeping, but she's mumbling words and stuttering, so I can't understand her. I quickly start shaking her. "Mom, wake up! Mom, are you okay? Please, please, wake up!" I yelled. But I'm thinking to myself, with the amount of force I used to shake her, she should be waking up, or at least pushing me away, telling me to leave her alone. She's trying to sleep. But nothing. I quickly run outside the room, down the hall, screaming to everyone in the house, "I need help. Please, hurry. Mom's in trouble. Help." We all run into the room. My brother lifts my mom up to sit her up, and she wakes up. Her face looks terrified. She quickly tells us all to kneel down. We need to say a prayer. My mom was too afraid to explain what happened. Then a few weeks go by. She finally builds the courage to tell my older brother what happened. She said, "Me and Lana, were watching a movie, then I fell asleep. All of a sudden I felt pressure on my legs. Started to hurt as I looked up to see why my legs were hurting. There was a lady sitting on me. She looked so evil, the same lady that was choking Sky. Lady all white, tall, evil, eerie face, long black hair. Scared the shit out of all of us. 4. This is the worst experience that's happened to me. So one of our last nights at that dreadful house, everyone was at their friend's house, and my mom was at school working late, grading papers as usual. The sun had almost gone down fully, with just a little light outside. So I decided to take my usual shower in my mom's bathroom, which was in her room. As soon as I got dried and dressed, I took one step out of the bathroom, and all the lights shut off. For that split second, I see out the window. And it's just my house with the power outage. Then all of a sudden, a loud, eerie, low right in my ear. Not the ha-ha-ha sound like someone is laughing. No, this was as if someone is exhaling, with their mouth wide open. That kind of ha noise. All of a sudden chills fall down my spine, and I see that same tall, skinny, evil-faced lady, with black as night eyes, and a white dress floating 1 foot off the ground. She pushes me back into the bathroom. I slam into the wall, and I'm being clawed on my neck. She's strangling the life out of me. I can't breathe. She's literally intangible. I can't feel her. It's as if I'm trying to stop her, but I don't feel anything but air. I'm so terrified I can't break free. While this evil spirit is choking me, she is lifting me up at least 2 feet off the ground. I turn my head to look at our reflection in the mirror. I see nothing standing there choking me. All I see is myself, levitating off the ground, being strangled by nothing. What the hell is happening? While this is going on, the lady lets out a screech, an out-of-this-world scream like this woman is being burned alive. How do you defend yourself from something you can't touch? At this point I tell myself, this is it. You're a dead girl now. Being a religious person, and with whatever breath I have, I struggle but get myself to barely say, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave." I mouth it 2 more times, and just when I was about to give up, my head pounding and throbbing, my body starts tingling all over and gets numb, and my eyes feel like they're going to pop out of my head. Everything starts to get brighter, and I feel dizzy. It felt like my head was going to explode. I lose all hope as soon as I close my eyes, and I welcome death, accepting defeat. I finally break free. My eyes are puffy as I start sobbing. The lights turn back on. I don't wait around for any more spirits to have at me, so I run like hell out of that house to find my brother's friend's house, and I tell him what happened. We sit outside, waiting for everyone to come home. Finally, everyone gets back. My brother tells them what happened. My sister quickly looks at my neck, and it's bleeding bad with deep scratching claw marks all over my chest and neck. Bad bruising and black fingerprint bruised marks. We left everything there and moved the hell out of there that night. We paid movers to pack up most of our stuff, but my dad visited from Hawaii a few days later to get our valuable personal things, and we never looked back. I still can't believe what happened to me, and I'm so grateful we are not living in that evil, horrible house anymore. Paranormal stuff still happens to us. I guess whatever it is has been following us from house to house, because every house we've been in has been haunted. I don't think it's the houses that are haunted, it's us. I've always wanted to have my palms read or talk to a psychic or medium, but I'm too scared of what my readings will be. I don't dare mess around with Ouija boards or put video cameras up. I feel that just provokes and attracts the spirits more and makes shit worse. Be careful out there. I truly believe that there are evil and good forces out there beyond our comprehension that shouldn't be meddled with. Let the dead rest in peace and stay there. 5. So it all began when I was 12 years old. I played a lot of computer back then, and I was the regular raging squeaker. I played a game called Counter-Strike with my friend, and it was our first time playing Counter-Strike. Once we got into a match, we heard someone speaking with a voice changer. Back then, it was really annoying when he was giving out information on where the other players were. So we started giving him a lot of shit and calling him a lot of mean things. After 20 minutes of non-stop name-calling, he removed his voice changer, and we clearly heard he was 30 to 40 years old. And then he said something that I still get chills of until this day. He started rambling up all my private information, where I lived. He then somehow got my mom's credit card number, since I used it a while back to buy in-game bonuses. And the way he said it was just disturbing. And then he said, "I might come and say hi." Then he instantly left our lobby. Me and my friend didn't think much of it. We played the whole night and then went to bed. We woke up the next morning to a missed call and a couple of texts and a photo. I feel that I should say that the friend I was playing with lives really close to me. On the text he sent us it says, "Nice house. Open the door, do as I say or you will regret it." And he sent a photo of the outside of my house. When I woke up, I immediately called my friend, and he got the same photo and similar text messages. We both were terrified. We didn't want to tell our parents because they don't like us being negative on the internet. We decided to call up another friend who lived a couple of blocks down our street. Let's call him Tom. We still got text messages all the time from this freaking psycho, but we just blocked him. When we were at Tom's place at night, we watched 2 movies just to pass the time. About 9 p.m. at night, we were just playing around with our phones until we felt sleepy. 2 hours go by, and we finally get tired. We briefly fell asleep, but then Tom got a weird message. It said, "Don't try to hide at your friend's place." Tom instantly blocked the random number and panicked. He told his mom all about this mess. We got mad at him, but still relieved, since Tom's dad said he's got a gun in the drawer and promised that nobody will come into this house. We went to bed again, but we couldn't fall asleep. We heard a loud bang at the front door. Tom's dad told us to stay in the room, and rushed down with a loaded gun in his hand. We heard a loud scream, and we rushed down to see if Tom's dad was hurt, and we were curious. We saw Tom's dad rush after the random man that looked just like a shadow. Tom's dad screamed at us to call the cops, and then we just saw Tom's dad rush after him and threatening him that he will shoot if he didn't stand still. 10 minutes go by after we called the police, but there was no sign of Tom's dad or the shadow man. When the cops arrived, we told them where they ran. The cops went in that direction. We didn't hear much for another 30 minutes. We had no clue what to do. We tried to call Tom's dad, but he didn't answer. Another 30 minutes go by. and then the cops come with Tom's dad. They explain that the man that they were hunting was a wanted pedophile. Unfortunately, they didn't catch him. Then we just forced ourselves to sleep, but it was hard. We were all terrified, and we barely slept anything that night. We never heard from the pedophile again. I still think, though, to this day, if I will ever hear from what we called him, Shadow Man, ever would come to our place again. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you for listening to my latest subscribers video. I think we're up to episode 9 now, I believe. There's the folder right there, and yes, we're up to episode 9. Thank you very much to all my subscribers who sent stories in for this video. If you have sent one in and it did not appear in this video, it will appear in a future video. The fact is, I use every and all subscriber stories I receive. So if you have sent one in, it shouldn't be too long, probably maybe next week. There's a couple of stories I've received that are, let's see, one of them's a Pokemon Go story. So I may do another Pokemon Go video. Let me know what you think. I'm looking at the numbers for those videos. Well, not literally looking at them, but I have looked at them, and they're not too bad. So if there's enough interest, I would certainly do another one. I also have had 1 or 2 TIFUs, I believe, and there was also one I recorded earlier tonight, just for my own amusement to do it earlier, because I got to attempt, I'm not going to say it's any good, but I got to attempt to do Malcolm McDowell's voice, which was fun for me. That was a Tinder date gone wrong, gone very wrong, actually, story, so that will feature in a future Tinder video, which, no promises, I'm going to try for Thursday. Okay, and with that, I'm going to run off now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.